Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, Pixie Dusted Princess. Today I'm going to be making a video all about the application process for the Disney College program. So today it is January 8th, and I know that for fall of 2019 the applications will be opening late January, early February, so that's coming up. So hopefully this video will be able to help those of you who are watching it because you are either looking into applying for the Disney College program or are already starting the magical journey of the application process. I guess first I'll talk a little bit about my application process. Going into this, I found out about the Disney College program in middle school. So ever since middle school, I have been dreaming about the day when I could apply for the program. Even though I'd known forever that I wanted to apply for the program, I hadn't really looked into how the application worked, honestly, until a few days before it opened, because I'm the kind of person who, if I start getting excited about something too early, I'll just stress myself out. It'll become a big thing. So I was like, I'll just wait until the application actually opens because you have a 2-month window. I think for us it started August 20th and it ended maybe in October was the last day to send in your application. So I was like, I have a long time to apply, so I'll just like start the process closer to August 20th. Going into it, I really did not know what was happening. So YouTube vlogs and the Facebook page and everything were so helpful in like teaching me what was happening because I was just very lost and very confused, and I probably should have started figuring out what was happening sooner, but it's fine because it worked out. I got through it. So I did the whole application process. I like wrote down what was happening. I wrote down like tips and things that I learned from different vlogs because I knew I would not remember otherwise. Yes, so let's get into it. The Disney College program application process begins first with an application that's very similar to any sort of job application. Now, I wouldn't really know this because I've never had a job before, just different volunteer opportunities. So if that's you and you've never had an actual job before, don't worry, it will not hinder your application at all. Disney's not looking for someone who's had 8 different jobs before, even though that's a good thing to have for your application, and there's definitely a part where you can just like put everything you've done and really let yourself shine in the eyes of Disney. But if you're like me and you've never actually had a job before, do not worry because it will be completely fine if you just put different other opportunities you've had where you've learned different skills that can be applicable to the Disney College program. This first job application, there is like the Disney website, which is disneycareers.com. You can actually go on before the application opens and create a profile. And on this profile you can put like your name, just other personal information, I think address, schools you've gone to. You can start filling out your work experience. I think there's a place for like job description and then responsibilities for each work experience you add on there. And this is really helpful because even before the application opens, you can still get your thoughts together, write it all down, get the wording perfect, and get it just how you want it. So if you want to apply, like send in your application right the day it opens, then you already have a lot of it filled out because you've gone in and done your profile ahead of time. So this was something I learned from the Facebook page because I was like, when I joined it like a couple days before the application opened, people were already like, what should I put for my work experience? Like, how should I word this? Should I use bullet points, paragraphs? I was like, something's already happened? Like, I didn't know the application had opened yet. Like, what? But I learned what was happening through the Facebook page. So that was really helpful. So long story short, you can go on before the application opens, fill out your profile, and then when the application does open, you can just click import profile and it'll just take all that information and put it right into your application so that you can work on the other parts that are specific to the Disney College program application. My first tip for filling out the application applies to the work experience part. I think I put 3 different work experiences. The first thing I put was my long-term volunteering position throughout high school, where I worked at the local fine arts center, and I was a receptionist during the school year and then a summer camp counselor, teacher, assistant during the summer, which is probably something a lot of you guys have done because it's fairly common to do volunteering like that throughout high school. I just like put that in the work experience and just like kind of formatted it and highlighted the parts that I thought would apply to the Disney College program. The work experience I had, I put that volunteer opportunity, I was on a competitive dance team as well, and I wrote about my experience with that, and I also put my position as historian in my sorority, and honestly I think that was it, which really stressed me out because everyone who's had a job before, I just felt like I was already behind in this application, not having so much experience. But I just really want to let those of you who are like me out there know that it's completely okay, and Disney isn't gonna like shove your application away because you haven't had a job before. Like, it'll be okay. People who put nothing in the work experience, like have literally no experience, have still gotten in because it's not totally about your experience. It's just like an added bonus to like let the skills that you have acquired through different positions show to Disney, but it's not completely necessary. So my first tip is relating to that work experience section, and it is to use the 4 keys. Now, since I've not worked at Disney before, I learned these from a YouTube vlogger, and these are something you learn like in traditions and as you're working at Disney, but they are safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. And those are like the 4 things that Disney really focuses on when they're like explaining different jobs and like highlighting like what they want to exemplify like through their company, is safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. And so I thought this was a really good tip because this initial application, the first step in the 3-step application process, this isn't actually looked at by any of the recruiters, any people at Disney. It's just like put, I don't know technology, but it's put into the computers and like an algorithm or like a robot or however that works, like look at it and decide yes, they deserve to get a web-based interview, or no, this candidate isn't exactly what we're looking for, which terrified me because I'm like, a computer is deciding whether I'm gonna work at Disney. I was like, at least a person can like judge and be like, oh, this girl seems nice. I don't know how they know that from an application, but whatever. I was like, how will the computer get to know me? But it's totally okay, because if you use these keywords, with my limited understanding of technology, I feel like the algorithm would be like, wow, like this girl uses like the same verbiage that like we use as a company, so like that's probably a good fit. So for example, my volunteering job at the Fine Arts Center, I put that I had to work with the kids to maintain and ensure their safety. I needed to treat the parents and students who came to the Fine Arts Center courteously, and that I needed to make sure the camp was running efficiently. And so when I put in those keywords, I just hoped for the algorithm to be able to see what you're putting and be like, oh, this lines up with what Disney wants in a Disney College Program participant. Like, please accept me. My second tip for this part of the application is when the application opens up and you can import your profile with your job experience and your other personal information, schools you've attended, other things like that, then you are able to put your interest in the roles in the Disney College Program that you can do. And so a tip I have is to really research these roles and like be honest with yourself about what you actually want to do, and just like take some time to think about it. I feel like that's one thing I didn't do enough in my application process. I was so like hurried. I was like, I gotta apply, like it opened today, gotta do it. But like, really think about that, because some of the roles that I put like moderate interest in, as I was like researching them even more, like before the phone interview, looking at questions about things, I was like, wow, I actually am really highly interested in this role, but I only put it as moderate interest. So then there's like, not that there's less of a chance of you getting that, but you're just like, you haven't shown as much interest as you really have in the role. because you didn't research it like me. So just be really honest with yourself about that. When it opens up, first it'll ask you about the high volume roles that the Disney College Program offers, and these are the ones that they accept a lot of people for. They need a lot of lifeguards, they need a lot of quick service food and beverage, and they need a lot of custodial. And so I put no interest in lifeguard and custodial just because I had interest in other roles over those ones, and I put low interest in quick service food and beverage. And that was something I was concerned about. I was like, those are the high volume roles, like those are what they want. Like if I put no interest in them, like what if that I have less of a chance of getting in? I don't know. I was a little stressed about that, but it is totally okay. Like put interest in a couple of things, but you do not have to put interest in everything. Like Disney will not judge you for only being interested in like everything but 4 or 5 things, you know? Like it'll be okay. The thing is, don't stress out about this. Like it's obviously a very big deal, but what you're doing will be totally fine, and you're not gonna make any huge mistakes with these things that are gonna like blow everything. Like it'll be okay. So yeah, definitely really be honest about those things. The things I put high interest in were merchandise, attractions, and Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. Because Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique is the dream, but it's such a small, like they only accept so few people for that role that it's so hard to get. But I got merchandise, which was a top choice, so. And then I put moderate interest in PhotoPass, character attendant, children's activities, convention guide, and Cedar. And then I put low interest in recreation activities and quick service food and beverage. And then everything else I put no interest in, which I don't know how many other things there are, maybe like monorail, watercraft, and then lifeguard, custodial, housekeeping. So just do whatever you feel like you would really enjoy at the Disney College Program, and just do research, know what each job entails, and so that it's easier for that part of the application. And then also in this part of the application, I think it actually comes right before you choose your roles. It asks you the basic questions of whether you want to do, say, Spring or Spring Advantage, or whether you're willing to do either, whichever they have room for you in. And it asks you whether you want to do Disney World or Disneyland. And so this is another thing that you just really have to research and know exactly what you want to do. Because for spring, it's typically January or February through May, which is a typical college semester. But they also have options for if your school goes by quarters. I don't know the exact dates for that, but they are accommodating of schools that go by quarters instead of semesters. And then Spring Advantage, my program goes from January 22nd to August 1st, and that's the typical Spring Advantage time. Those are like the typical times, so you have those two options. And then for fall, it's the same. It's either you can do fall, which is a fall semester, or a fall quarter, or you can do Fall Advantage, which is the summer and then the fall semester. And then when you're choosing between Disney World or Disneyland, that's totally like a personal preference thing, but I just want to let you know that Disneyland, since it's a much smaller park, it does accept fewer participants. So I put that I was okay with either Spring or Spring Advantage, whichever they had room for me in, and that I would only like to be considered for Disney World. I live in Florida, I know Disney World better, I just would feel more comfortable there. But if you want to put both, if you want to put just Disneyland, it's really up to you. Just be aware that they accept a lot more participants in the college program at Disney World, just because there's just a larger park with more spots to put you in. And that is pretty much it for the initial step 1 of the application process. And so like I said, you send this in. I sent it in on the first day, August 20th of 2018, and then the computer goes through it, the algorithm, whatever that is, and then you can hear back about it literally anywhere from 5 minutes later to a few months later. And whenever you hear about it, it's not like if you hear about it right away, like Disney loves you more than anybody else, and if you hear about it 3 months later, like Disney's like, you're fine. It's not anything like that. It's just like, you'll learn more about this as you go through the process, but everything happens in waves. There's like waves of acceptances, waves of moving from application to web-based interview, like it all just like, there's little puddles splashes when just a few people move on, and there's waves when a lot of people move on. But they do things in like groups, so you might just like not have been placed in the first group of moving on to the next thing. It's just like, so I was totally blessed to get the email for the web-based interview within 2 hours-ish of applying, and so that was super great. I applied like before dinner time, and then I was like, I am stressed out. And so I like put my phone on silent, put it in my pocket, got dinner, just like stepped away for a few hours. It was probably like an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then when I came back and looked at my email, lo and behold, there it was. So that was super exciting for me. But totally do not worry if you're just stuck and applied for quite a while, because it doesn't mean that Disney doesn't like you. It's just they haven't told you what they think yet. So just don't be worried about that. I know it's so hard to wait, but just don't think your journey's over because you haven't gotten an email right away. Like, it's totally okay. So now I'm going to talk about step 2 of the application process, which is called a web-based interview. And that sounds kind of scary because like interviews just seem stressful, but do not stress about it. This is a very easy part of the application process as well if you're just calm and confident and ready. The web-based interview is basically just a personality test style questionnaire where Disney looks at your answers and see if they align with Disney's, what they're looking for in a cast member and their values and just different things like that, which might sound kind of scary, but if you answer it truthfully and according to like what your own values and personality is, then there's no wrong answer. Like, you just answer truthfully, and if Disney sees that you align with the cast member values, then you'll move on, and if not, then you'll be able to apply next time. So the web-based interview, it says to allow approximately 40 minutes to answer all the questions. I think there's like 50 questions, but I could be wrong, but it's somewhere around there. So they say to allow 40 minutes for it. It only took me about 20, but anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes, somewhere around there. So just make sure you're like in a quiet space where you can sit and think about each question. If you need someone there for moral support, like that's totally fine, but just like stay focused, because once you answer a question and click next, you can't go back and like change your answer. These questions are kind of like on a scale of like sounds nothing like me or sounds like me. There's like, I don't know, maybe like 5 different levels, with the middle being neutral. So it's like kind of sounds like me, really sounds like me, or like doesn't really sound like me, or like that's never something I would do. Just, that's probably a bad explanation, but it's something like that. Or like, it's like always, sometimes, neutral, not often, or never. Just like different scales like that. An example would be if the question were like, I am always on time. So you can pick always, sometimes, neutral, not always, or never. So like, that's an easy one. Like, maybe you want to put I'm always on time because you want to show Disney that you are ready to work and be a reliable cast member. Be consistent. When you've previously put I'm always on time, you want to show Disney that you are consistent in your answers and you don't want to just, I don't know, just be answering all over the place. You want to show that you definitely are representing yourself honestly through this quiz. Yeah, so that's the one thing, is to be consistent. And another thing is, I've heard multiple views on this, but to not put neutral very often, because I think Disney is looking for someone with like strong views, which like is hard to tell through like a personality quiz. But if you're always like I'm always on time, neutral, like are you or are you not, you know? It's I'm never late, neutral, like I don't know. So I maybe like once or twice put neutral, but I really tried to stay as like always, never, sometimes, not often. Like I tried not to be really close to neutral consistently, because I wanted to show Disney that like I'm either like yes I do this or no I don't do that. So I think that's another good tip. You can honestly, if you are neutral towards something, put neutral, but I would try and not consistently be saying you are neutral towards things, you know? So I think those are my two biggest tips for the web-based interview, with the third tip to be just be yourself and be honest, and if that's something Disney likes, then you're a good fit for Disney, and then you get to go on to the phone interview. And if that's not something that Disney sees you working out well with them, then maybe this just isn't really your time to work for Disney, which is totally okay. Like, people apply once and get in, or people apply 5 times and then finally get in. Like, it's all about timing, and it's just, I believe that everything happens for a reason, and if this isn't your time, you won't get in. And obviously that's like a devastating feeling, but just be yourself and hope for the best, and I believe that you will do really well. So those are the first 2 steps of the application process, and this has probably been a bit of a lengthy video, just me explaining all of that. So I'm gonna make the phone interview a separate video, because that is a whole separate deal, and that's probably the biggest part of the interview, or of the application process, just because it's very, not lengthy, but my phone call was about 28 minutes, and it's just, I think when people think about it, like, a phone interview is probably the most stressful part, so I'm just gonna make that a separate video. In my experience, I finished the web-based interview in about 20 minutes, and then after the web-based interview, they will email you immediately offering you a phone interview, or saying, unfortunately, we cannot offer you a role at this time, please apply again later. And so if you do get the email about the phone interview, then you'll be able to schedule a phone interview for, honestly, I think it's like the next day through like a week later. I think it's like a week-long thing. So I did my web-based interview, everything, I think on a Monday or a Tuesday, question mark. And then I scheduled my phone interview for that following Sunday, because even though that was a lot of time waiting and like worrying, I wanted to give myself plenty of time to practice and get ready and research more and just feel confident with the whole process. Watch my next video. It'll probably be at the end of this video. There'll be a link to the next one if you want to learn more about the phone interview process. And I really hope that this video helped and was able to calm your nerves a little bit about the application process, because it really is such an exciting time, and I know there's so many emotions around it because it's Disney, so it's amazing, but it's a little stressful. So I'm just wishing you all the best luck and hoping that you do really well in the application process. So I'll see you guys later.